The underdog. What is it about their story that captures our hearts? At the core lives a simple idea. We want to live in a just world. A world where everyone has the chance to rise above the darkest hour, no matter what the circumstance. Reminding us of the timeless tale. David slays Goliath and rocks the Richter scale. As the co-founder and CEO of Cardone Ventures, you, alongside iconic business partner Grant Cardone, together are impacting millions of lives all around the world. With a mission to empower entrepreneurs and individuals to take control of their destiny, throughout your incredible career, you've started, scaled, and sold multiple businesses, not only creating tremendous financial abundance for yourself, but for everyone around you. Your gift for entrepreneurship started at just 16 years old. Take us back to where the magic began.
Growing up on the Walnut Orchard, I had always been one of these people that worked and worked and worked because my parents didn't have money. I was 16 years old and I got grounded for doing something stupid. My parents asked me to pick the walnut orchard. Now, I don't know if you've ever picked walnuts, but it's a nasty job. Your hands get all black, they're stained for like a month, and I used to hate walnut season. The orchard was 5.5 acres. So I knew there was a good week's worth of work, and I walked into school and I saw a note on the locker that said, Senior Fund Drive for the senior trip, raising $1,000. So I went up to the president of the senior class and I said, hey, why don't you come out and help me pick up walnuts? And depending on how many we pick up, I'll contribute towards your $1,000. So that next morning I was thinking, oh God, I hope somebody shows up, because the faster I get this thing picked, the better shot I get at going over and seeing my girlfriend. All of a sudden, all these cars were pulling in, trucks were coming in, vans were coming in. I had like 50 or 60 people show up. I'm like, this is crazy. They went out and in 2.5 days, we picked that orchard clean. They raked it. I didn't do anything. I didn't touch a walnut, but now I had a new problem. I had to pay him the $1,000. Now I'm a 2.4 GPA high schooler. So I just made up a number and said, hey, this is how much I got to sell the walnuts for. The parents said, well, what if we want to buy them? It was an amazing thing because they didn't just buy a few of them, they bought them all. It dawned on me that it wasn't about the walnuts. It was about showing their kids they love them. And there's when I learned the power of scale. The more people that you throw at a problem, the more people you have there to present the solution, the bigger, better, faster, and more productive you're gonna be at getting it done. The other anomaly was I made up a price and they gladly paid it. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. The actual thing we did was create value for people's lives so they could show their kids that they loved them. That's where I learned in messaging. It's not about the business, it's about the result of the business. Those lessons taught me lots of things about how to view circumstances, and I think it impacted me forever.
What's compelling about your story is your ability to create whatever you put your mind to, no matter how many obstacles. When you were 29, you were one of the youngest people to ring the opening bell, listing your company on the American Stock Exchange. You did this against all odds. How did you make those big dreams a reality?
As a teenager, every couple Saturdays, I would spend all day on the tractor. And although I was cutting the grass, I was always thinking about the fantasy of being a CEO of a public company and doing big things. People would say, Dawson, you're barely gonna make it out of high school. Settle in for mowing the orchard because those are fantasies. I used to hear this, but then none of those people have done what I wanna do. So I just shut that out, and I was just so intent on breaking out and doing something incredible.
One thing I won't do is let you tell me that I can't be great.
I had confidence I could make a lot of money, but what was the big problem I could find? What was the new walnuts? And it wasn't until a few years later, I was selling hearing devices. And see, I had paid attention in the device business I was in, and a lot of the people that sold the devices were aging. These are businesses that are doing all this revenue, and a lot of them were just retiring and shutting their business down, and a new profession was merging with people coming out of university to do that work. So I had the idea, what if I bought those businesses? And then what if I went in and found the kids from university to run it? And that was my launch of entrepreneurism. So I went out and met with lots of business owners, and I had over $20 million worth of businesses that wanted to sell to me that I put under letter of intent, but I didn't have any money. All of a sudden, I'm in New York City and I'm presenting to potential investors, big institutions, Salomon Brothers, Goldman Sachs. My dream was coming into a reality. And I realized that I don't know anything about how to raise capital. I don't know anything about debt structure. I don't know anything about anything. And I'll never forget, I was at one of the most prestigious financial institutions in the world. And they said they were interested potentially in investing in me, but they were nervous about my experience. I said, well, I'm gonna get one shot, because if I don't make this work, no one will ever trust me again. So whereas you can bet on thousands of businesses, this is the only bet I have. I was asking for $15 million. They called me up about a month later and they said, we want to give you $18 million for the same valuation. And from there, they said, one caveat. We want you to list your company in the US. We want you to take it to the American Stock Exchange. It was one thing to be on Wall Street. It was one thing to sit across the table from these huge titans that control billions of dollars. It was another thing at 29 years old to get to ring the opening bell of the American Stock Exchange. That thing I used to dream about that everyone said I was crazy, I did it.
Like so many legendary leaders, the road to success was far from easy, but out of hardship and pain often comes clarity and transformation. Leading a public company brings, of course, a whole new set of challenges. What was the most powerful lesson for you during this time?
2001, I was at the highest peak of success. I had all this cash, I had a strategy, we were starting to make a lot of money. I was crushing it. And then my investors called me and said, come to New York. And I thought, these guys, they're gonna take me to dinner. They're gonna tell me you did an unbelievable job. I was so excited. I walked into the boardroom and they said to me, hey, Brandon, you've raised this debt. And although it can convert back to cash, the debt is in front of our preferred equity. See, this is where I learned about equity structures, capital structures, capital stacks. And what I learned the most is that investors don't like to have debt in front of their preferred equity, because if something goes wrong, they lose their position in the capital structure. So that meeting went from me thinking the peak of everything in my life, I'm gonna get a pat on the back and told I did a remarkable job, to being told you need to sell the company immediately. I was like, you guys, are you crazy? We finally arrived. Look at the money we're making. We're gonna own the global space. And they said, yeah, but we don't care. We want you to sell the business. And I just looked at them and I said, guys, I can't sell the business. 7 years, this is my baby.
Every time I build it up, they wanna knock it down. But I'ma pick it up and take it to the clouds.
They sold it so fast, without even shopping it, without using a banker, because they wanted to make sure they got their money and they didn't care about anybody else. And that taught me a whole nother lesson about what it's like to be an entrepreneur, to pursue your dream, to look your team in the face and tell them about where you're going, to build systems and build process and build people, and then have somebody else just make the decision instantaneously that you're irrelevant. And I left in the fall of 2001. It was right after September 11th. And I sat there thinking the whole world's coming to an end at this moment. My career's coming to an end. How can I go from being the superhero, fighting through every challenge, breaking through every wall, on a vibrational energy? I just connected with that day. And I sat there just thinking to myself, what's next?
You gotta give it every breath and fight till ain't nothing left. Dawson boy.
It was within that transformation that your next brilliant idea was born. Without raising or borrowing money, you grew your next company from a startup to selling it in 2016 for $151 million at an astonishing 77 times EBITDA. What was the opportunity you saw in the marketplace?
In the window of all this happening, I kept lamenting about how I got screwed over. And it led me on a path of self-discovery. I realized the whole issue is you got all these Wall Street kids that the minute you buy stuff, it's like cram down, operate, oppress, ratchet, screw downs, all these things, and people don't want to be in that environment. It's a psychology of consolidation. My previous company, I had no relationship with the majority of my employees, like 500 at the time, and I realized that in itself is the problem. You can't move around people to move the business, you gotta move the people to move the business. And that gave me an idea. What if I reverse consolidation? Instead of me buying them and then cramming down on them, what if I started a company, I gave them equity in my company, and I built programs and resources and tools and digital strategies so they could deploy them back in their practice and then they could win. And instead of them working for me, what if I worked for them? And everyone, again, told me I was crazy. As it played out, there was no equity structure that was available to do what I wanted to do, so I had to create it. And we created the single largest independent group of business owners that outperformed their peer group 3.5 to 15 times in value and production, and created a whole new standard in North America for private practice audiology. When the world was melting down in 08, 09, 10, 11, every one of those years we were on the Inc. 500, 5,000 list of fastest growing private companies. We never had a non-profitable month. It was all self-funded, and I gave 40% of the equity to my customers, and we were one big ecosystem. The value we created for those people was unparalleled anywhere in the industry. And then in 2016, we sold the business for $150 million, 77 times EBITDA. Best day of my life was sending out $45 million to my customers and every one of my employees because they all shared in the value.
Keep on, yeah. I'ma keep on shining, I'ma keep on, yeah. I'ma keep on rising.
When we started working with them, people that were grinding every day, never being able to leave their office, working 80 hours a week, taking those people and creating a life for them where they didn't even have to go to the practices anymore because they got so big. We created more multimillionaires in the hearing care space than had ever existed before, and that personally is something I'm very proud of, and they're still crushing it.
Take what you want, it's dust and bone. Yeah. Dust and bone.
Lifting people up is at the core of everything you do. You've now partnered with global entrepreneur Grant Cardone to bring your knowledge of scaling to the masses. How is Cardone Ventures helping business owners personally, professionally, and financially?
Cardone Ventures exists to help business owners break through the mistakes in the process of trying to grow and scale. How to do the things that will create the highest impact the fastest to move them into whatever they're dreaming about. If we give you the preview looking forwards, you make better decisions. And getting you first to go back and remember that mental picture you had in your mind before you started the business, not after you're full of stress and constraint and fear and things are hard. That's the breakthrough opportunity. And we see business owners that are already seeing 30, 40, 50% increases by doing the things we're teaching them. Impacting people's lives like this is what gets me going. It's what makes me excited, and it's what makes Grant excited. When I met Grant, I realized that all my thinking was still too small. The whole premise of the 10X concept is whatever you're thinking about right now, 10 times that thinking. You have to have that foundational belief. You're gonna believe in what you picture yourself as. You're gonna work with every ounce of everything you have to create that, or you're gonna concede and give up. You have to own it, and you can't let anybody try to take it away from you. Anybody that wants to go through personal self-improvement, Grant wants to create a path for those people willing to do that. As people work in his system and become more profoundly impactful, they go start their own businesses, and then I'm there to help them actually grow and scale. That's our shared purpose together. My personal mission is to help business owners and entrepreneurs be able to achieve their personal, professional, financial goals as fast and as impactfully as they can without making any of the mistakes I made. What I'm most proud of is that we're able to so quickly impact the lives of the people that trust working with us at Cardone Ventures. When people trust you, they make a choice to work with you, and then they feel the impact of that, and it's life-changing for people, which is what I'm so excited about.
Visionaries. We've always called them crazy. Dreaming so big it challenges our perception of reality. They break through the mental barriers that block the best of us and carry within them a category of certainty we all seek. They push the outer limits of our beliefs, ascending to heights we dare now speak.
They say the sky is the limit. I say that just scratch the surface. You see my lifestyle change. Now I'm high on purpose. Yeah, I'm fly on first class. The last shall be first, yeah, I outlast. Last laughing to the bank with the bag. I remember back then, way back.